All right. Hello, Austin County. Today I'm here with Cowboy Szymanski, owner of Phenix Knives, which is located in Bellville, Texas. Cowboy, thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. It's a lot of fun.
I hope so. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself. That's the way we always start.
I'm a bladesmith. I've been doing it now for 27 years. I like to have fun. I do adventures, sports, all sorts of good, just lots of different things.
So you're a well-rounded individual.
Yeah, I like to say I'm well-rounded.
All right. Now, the big question that I have is, how did you get to be known as Cowboy?
Everybody always asks that. It's kind of a long story. It's happened to me several times throughout my life. Probably started as early as junior high, going to the rich school down the street because I wanted a special course that I wanted to take.
Okay.
And I showed up in my boots and rodeo buckles and cowboy hats and things. And so kids, obviously teasing somebody different, would call me Cowboy. As life moved on, it just kept happening at different times.
It's kind of stuck.
There was a steer wrestling thing that happened in junior high a little bit, or in high school. And then really it came probably more from the sports. I was doing extreme sports for a long time. And of course I show up wearing cowboy boots and hats and buckles and things like that.
So you earned it.
It just kind of really stuck doing the sporting goods. They kind of thought it was funny, me showing up with all that stuff.
All right. Now let's revisit steer wrestling. Did you actually?
I've wrestled a few steer here and there. Nothing I really want to do.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's and nicknames are always an interesting thing for me of how people get them, because you do, somebody will be called Bootsy and you're like, how did you get that name? So I always wondered if Cowboy was your real name or just a nickname.
Nah, it was really more the sports, and it also happened at a point in my life in which I wanted to change directions, and everybody kept calling it, and I never accepted it until I was hitting those sports, and I was like, I wanted to go a different direction with my life. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll accept it as that. And, I went from having stripes to spots and just changed my life and went a different direction.
There you go. All right. Now, you are most known for Phenix Knives. Greg, will you pull that up for us? All right. So Phenix Knives, this is what I think most people know you for. Am I correct there?
Yeah, that's pretty much become pretty synonymous with me.
Okay. And I know that the metal forging, you said you did different things. Did you start out with just knives, or did you start out with something else?
No, I started with knives. So same as any boy, King Arthur, Robin Hood, the Three Musketeers.
Right.
Wanted swords and armor. We couldn't afford them. I couldn't afford them. So I finally found somebody that made them and talked him into teaching me how to do this. And so I started making knives.
All right. So you did. So you just went straight into the knives, and no, you didn't mess around. I guess is what I'm saying. You went straight for it.
Yes, I did. I had been doing professional sports for about 10 years. So I was in the sports industry, managing sporting goods stores and doing competitions and things. And I finally found somebody who made knives, which is what I've wanted to do my entire life.
Okay.
And he took me into his family, started teaching me how to do that. I learned to make knives. I would like to say that's all I did, but I quickly realized that I needed to know more about the trade than what I did. So I started to learn some blacksmithing. So I spent a lot of time working at the George Ranch, Egypt Plantation, Leandro Plantations, different historical sites, doing work for them, learning, studying. It allowed me to improve my blacksmithing skills to improve my knives. Okay. So I did that for many, many, many years, a combination of both blacksmithing and knife making, to the point I was traveling to Italy, Germany, France.
Oh, wow.
Working over there, studying with some smiths, looking through the museum, studying iron that goes back to 680 BC. So just studying and learning and really paying attention. And after a while, I was like, the ironwork was detracting from my knives. It was becoming such a popular thing, I couldn't make knives.
Okay.
So I finally let go of the blacksmithing and said, I'm going to focus on my knives and strictly do that.
So you were a true apprentice. You really went to the big guys and went for it. And really, I think that's the way to do it. 'Cause, a lot of people go to school and then they come out and they have the technical knowledge, but not the real hands-on, get your hands dirty,
Exactly.
be able to do it. Okay, so you're not from Bellville.
No, ma'am.
Okay, where are you originally from?
South Houston, Clear Lake area.
Okay. All right. So what brought you to Bellville?
A gentleman by the name of Don Lawrence, who unfortunately just passed, is one of my best friends. The original, well, I guess I would say the Austin County, the Chamber of Commerce for Bellville actually brought me here. I was doing shows over in Columbus. There's a place called Gunsmoke, Texas. And it's a historical shooting society place. And I'd been doing that show for years and years and years. And somebody from the chamber saw me there and asked if I would come to Bellville to do the very first Heritage Days back in 2003.
Okay.
I was tired. I'd been doing shows. I was doing 3 and 4 shows a month.
Oh, wow. No.
And then I'd go home, work for a couple days to build up inventory, and then drive somewhere across Texas to go do another show. And at first I was like, never heard of Bellville. I was tired. I'd been doing this like 2.5 years. And I'm like, I had just started establishing a really nice shop. So my own first freestanding shop in Pasadena.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, will you come to Bellville and do this show? And I was like, I haven't heard of it. Then they said the keyword, we want to put you in front of the original blacksmith shop.
Oh, okay.
I was like, so you have an original blacksmith shop? They said, yes, since 1891.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, wow. I've been all over Texas, and that is extremely hard to find. So I was like,
well, yeah.
Okay, let's go check this shop out, see what this is all about. It's just another festival. It gives me a chance to make money. And so I did the show. It was a lot of fun. Don Lawrence, who was the owner of the shop at the time, and he was like, we sat back and got to know each other. He's like, come on back and have some beer with me. And the show ended. We went back there, sipped on a few beers, and he asked, what would it take for you to move to Bellville and turn this back to a working blacksmith shop? And I'm like, okay, I never expected something like this. Never heard of this town. I got to think about this. And just in the moment, threw out cheap rent. And he said, okay. And I said, what? Oh, okay. I threw that out there as a Hail Mary just to see what would happen. And he agrees. So at that point, we took it serious. We started talking over the next couple months. And that was in May of 2003. And we talked about it and said, sure, we can do this. He says, you can start moving in August. And I was like, well, my lease is not up until October. And he's like, that's all right. You can just start setting up. And so I spent the next several months moving here. We did a soft opening, kind of basically my opening in October of 2003. So we've just completed 22 years here in Bellville, basically.
Wow. And I was going to say up on there, Greg, make it a little bigger for me, that you can see the original shop there. On
the right there.
And that, so did you restore it to make it original, or did you have it?
It was an empty building when I took it over.
Okay.
A reasonably empty building off to the side.
Yeah, right there. That's where it is. For anybody who doesn't know.
So yeah, the shop is original to the outside. The inside was basically an empty building. I mean, I had to clean out what was in there. There was just, they had a woodworking shop, and Jim Bishop was running his architect firm out of there. He had been there for many years doing a lot of that. There were the original stumps in the floor from the original anvils, so it really was still pretty original. I came in, could see where the forges were. I put the forges back, wanted to go historic, so I put old bellows in there and really tried to keep the history of the old shop.
Okay, now that's what I was going to ask you. Is that designated as a historical?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So when you look at that picture, you'll also see right behind that picture, the brick building behind it.
Right here? Okay.
Yep. That's called the carriage house.
Okay.
Now, the wood blacksmith shop was built in 1891 by E.O. Finn.
Okay.
And he ran that. Well, it's the oldest working blacksmith shop in Bellville. There was 5 blacksmith shops and 4 livery stables. That shop worked from 1891 and is still there and still up and running now.
Wow.
In 1896, they built a brick building behind it.
Okay.
And that's where the Finns lived. So it was a 2-story with a half basement underneath. And there was a carriage shop. So they stored, kind of like a car dealership. That was their showroom for the carriages and the wagons that they made.
Oh.
So they lived upstairs. They built them in the blacksmith shop and had showrooms in the downstairs to sell them and do things like that. So that was a joint piece of property right there. That was a really neat piece. And I was there, like I said, from 2003 till beginning of 24, or till 24.
Wow.
October of 24. So I literally did 21 years full to the day when I turned the keys back in to the owner of the building and said, I've got to go to a larger, bigger facility. So now we bought our new building.
Okay. Which let me go back to that. Okay. So this, oh, come on. This is you have moved now into the red building here. And is it an actual shop? I mean, you have forges and everything in there, or is it?
Oh yeah. No, we've turned it into a full working forge and everything like that. So I've got 3 forges upstairs. We let kids and everybody else come in and forge souvenir knives. I've got a forge downstairs when I do homeschools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, senior tour groups, different things like that. So we'll do private venues downstairs. So there's multiple forges in the building.
I was going to say now, what is this one?
This is a souvenir come and make it. So we allow you to come in and we give you the hammer and let you hammer hot steel and teach you how to forge out your own knife. It takes about 25 minutes and you get an introduction into what it's like to be a blacksmith.
And do you have air conditioning in there?
There is. Okay. Heating and air conditioning, which I did not have in the old building because the old building was open air. So when it was 30 degrees outside, it was 30 degrees in the shop.
Okay, so now that older shop, so you have this one. Do you still utilize the older shop, or is it just a?
No, I did not own the older shop. I could when it did sell, I couldn't afford to buy it at that time.
Okay.
And the new owners were very good to me, took care of us excellent. But being an old building, they didn't like I needed to expand. I was outgrowing the shop.
Right.
And I was like, can I put an extension to the back of the building? I need to make changes. It was just, we were outgrowing it. And so it was time for me to part ways. I had known Pat and Robin, who had Rocking Bee next door, the building I own now. I had known them for years. I knew their father, Tom. So when Tom Bennett had Rocking Bee Cowboy Supply and it's been a staple in our town for over 20 years.
Okay.
He started in I think it was 2000 that he started that. And it's been the Cowboy Supply, Farrier Supply, everything for the town for a long, long time. And I talked to Pat close to a decade ago. I was like, y'all ever want to retire or something like that? Let me know. I'd be interested in buying the building because I need to make investments for myself as well. Obviously, everybody needs a plan for the future. And we had joked and talked off and on over the years. And eventually, at the beginning of 24, he came up to me and said, are you still interested? I was like, well, sure, I am. But my big April event is in 2 weeks. I can't talk to you right now. So give me a month and I'll come back and we'll see what we can work out. I came back and we started talking. And I think the big question is, were we interested in keeping the Farrier Supply?
Oh.
And at that time, I was like, I'm not opposed to it. It ties into what I do. It was not what I was originally planning. I had other plans. But I was like, yeah, I never really thought about it. What kind of numbers are we talking about? What's this going to look like? And I was like, yes, I would be interested. And when I looked at all the information, I was like, yeah, I'd be really interested in keeping this going. And I think that's what kind of put me over the top for everybody else that was interested in the building.
Okay.
Is that we were going to continue the legacy of having the Farrier Supply and everything going on. So from Tom to Pat and Robin to myself, we're maintaining the history of Bellville and things that have been there. And I think that's really what set us over the top.
Excellent. Well, I've got your website up here. You have a lot of things. Here's your come and make it.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you have a little of everybody.
Well, we do
there.
Kids. We like to say kids from 6 years old to 106 years old.
Well, okay.
And then we do special needs. I've done autistic. I've done Down syndrome. I've done kids missing arms, limbs, legs. I've done 2 blind kids.
Wow.
We have some fun. So we enjoy, all of my crew are parents. All of my crews are scout leaders.
Okay.
So we all work with kids. My wife was a teacher for 30 years. So kids are our world. So we like working with it. So yeah, exactly.
That's what I did too.
There you go.
Okay. Now am I saying this correctly? Did this individual actually take half a horseshoe and make a knife out of it?
That is correct. Yes. So we're going to give you half a horseshoe. It's going to take about 25 minutes. We'll give you the hammer. We'll tell you when, where, how hard to hit. We walk you through the whole process. We turn, we show you how we grind it. We give you a sheath to carry it in because we're going to make them sharp. You get stickers to go with it. So you get all sorts of stuff, little goodie bag that you get to take home when you make your piece.
All right. Okay, Greg, hang on. Go back to us so I can find this. All right, here we go. This was some video from, which I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. This is Forged in Fire, but you were talking about how everybody works with the kids, and I didn't attend this, but Greg, you did. And tell him how you felt about this.
Well, I'm going to make one quick correction. This is our Texas Select Custom Cutlery event.
Oh, okay. So, excuse me.
Which is not actually associated with Forged in Fire.
Okay. Well, let me back up. Sorry about that.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Don't worry. But yes, this young man is learning how to make his knife. And Heath Besh is a father. He's been with me. He's one of my journeymen.
Okay.
He's been smithing with me for about 6 years.
Okay.
He's excellent with kids. And he sits down and is explaining to the young man what he needs to do, why, how he's going to do it, and let him hammer out. So he starts a practice before they put the hot steel on there and allows him to learn and show them what they need to do. So it's safe environment, so nobody gets hurt or anything like that. Knock on wood, we haven't had any injuries, anything like that. Everybody has a blast.
Right.
And it's just a really good time.
I was going to say, and this is good for parents to see, because I'm not a parent, but that would be my first question is, are you going to be nice to my child? Are they safe? Because a lot of times this is a big deal. These kids, this may be the only time they ever do it. And you're like, I run to have a really good time.
Well, horseshoe's not exactly cool.
Huh?
Horseshoe's not exactly cool.
No, that horseshoe is at 2,100 degrees. That's a very hot piece of metal.
Kind of like,
we ask a lot of faith and trust from our parents to let us take our kids and do this. And a lot of the parents are doing it too. They want to do it. This is something we like to do this because this really provides a unique experience. In this day and age, kids are growing up with the electronic babysitter. They're put in front of the TV. They're put in front of the phone, their tablet. They don't do hands-on. My generation, you were kicked out when the sun came up and you were told not to come home before the sun came down. And if you got hurt, rub some dirt in it, get on with it.
That's exactly it.
We get in here and we start teaching them. It's like, you can do this, and it's hands-on. It shows them there's more than just computers and video games and things that this stuff actually has to be made, and this is how it's made. So it gives them an introduction and an experience to life that they can see and experience.
Hey, go back to the fire.
Okay, hang on. Let's just say, and see then, I see now the little one's learning to
Now he's learning how to get it ground out, so he gets to see the sparks and what's going on with that. So, there's a lot of sayings. Don't have too many irons in the fire. Strike while the iron is hot. It all comes out in the grind. All these statements, so many statements we use, started in a blacksmith shop or because of some career that was done in the past.
All right. Wow. Okay, Greg, I'm sorry. Which one did you want to say?
Back to the
This one?
little kid, yeah. The thing I was wondering is, when he's doing it, skip a little forward to where he's actually there. How long do you have to actually do it before it's too cool to hammer on?
That all depends on the steels. A lot of what we do is known as material sciences and metallurgy. So the horseshoe, to do this experience, we have to do a mild steel. So it'll get sharp. It's not going to hold a real good edge. That way we aren't going to risk breaking the metal. We don't have a heat treating process issues, other things like that. So this is a souvenir piece. We have really 800 degrees in which we can work. Sounds like a really big number.
Right.
But that's about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So it's a very, very quick thing to happen.
Put us back up.
The tool steels, like when I make a knife, I have a 500 to 600 degree window.
Okay.
So I can only hit that piece of metal a dozen times and then I'm done. With the kids doing it, this allows them to work a lot longer. We don't have to worry about cracking our materials. So they get 30 plus seconds each time, 30, 40 seconds that they get to work each time.
Okay.
And we time it all out. And that's also depending on the weather, if it's cold, if it's warm, all those things affect the steel. So you learn how to be adaptable.
Okay. And it's a dumb question, probably. The metal is hot and it's soft, but it's not that soft. You still have to really hit it, correct?
Not as hard as you think. No,
really?
Actually, it moves very easy. Yes, we are hitting it. That's why you see us hitting it. And if you watch Heath when he's sitting there swinging those hammers, He's setting it up to allow this kid to, we make sure they succeed.
Right.
So to us, metal is like clay or Play-Doh. We can stretch it, shrink it, add to it, take away from it. We just can't touch it with our hands.
Okay.
So we use different hammers. It might be a 1 pound hammer. It might be a 16 pound hammer.
Okay.
So we choose a tool to do the job. More often than not, we're working between 2 and 3 pound hammers. We're going to get the hammer the young man's using through the videos is only a 2 pound hammer.
Okay.
So it's enough to start moving the metal, and then we help. There's programs or parts in there that we're doing what's called tandem hammering. And that's traditionally how you learn to be a blacksmith.
Okay.
You started as a gopher, you went to an apprentice, you learned to be a striker, then you became a journeyman, then you became a mastersmith. But during those periods, as a striker, you're striking and you're copying what the blacksmith does. So both of you are hitting the metal at the same time.
Okay.
And you get a rhythm, and it allows you to move that metal. So we're still hammering on it a little bit, but we're trying to make you do as much of it as we possibly can.
Right. And then this is the a little bit earlier before he was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just another view.
See, the first part is him getting to hammer the point on his knife right here.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing. And you can see that metal moves nice and easy. And he'll swing for just a little bit, and he'll actually hammer that point completely by himself.
Okay.
So all kids can do this. And you can see the metal cooling off the whole time he's working.
Right.
So that metal's already getting down to about 1,500 degrees. So it went from 2,100 to 1,500 degrees. And there he goes right back to the fire to warm it up and start over again. The hotter it is, the softer it's going to be.
Okay. All right. Let me jump back to your website. Okay. So it shows all the different things. You're Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5.
That's correct.
And you've got all the good stuff. It has, where to call. Mm-hmm. Now, that's things to do. All right, blacksmith and demo tour. Do we get to actually see you blacksmithing?
Yes. So during the demo, you'll see the people sitting around us.
Right.
I'm up there. I do a close to an hour-long demonstration. It's interactive. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to ask me questions. We do this for corporate team building, scouts, like I said, all sorts of groups. And it takes about an hour. When I finish, I hand the piece out. So that way they get to ask questions through the whole process. I'm talking history of the Iron Age, history of blacksmithing. I'm talking the Bronze Age. I'm showing what I'm doing and talking through the whole process.
It's just totally homeschool. And then you have also your knives that you've made for purchase.
These are some of the pictures of the knives that I've made and things like that. So yeah, I've been doing this 27 years. So I've made thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of knives. And so it just goes on. And we sell very fast. So my guys and myself are working as fast as possible trying to put product out.
Brutal.
It gets pretty rough.
Yeah. Okay, this one right here, that's where you bend it over.
That is. So the knife on the right there is what we call a friction folder.
Okay.
So the style of knife actually goes back 2,500 years. So it goes all the way to the Roman Empire. The loop on the back was designed to hang it on your outfit because you didn't get pockets till about 1810, 1820.
Okay.
To make that blade, I started with multiple pieces of metal and stacked them up and alternating layers. And then as I forged it out, I hammer them into one solid piece of metal, draw it into the shape of the knife, grind it, sand it, polish it. And then from there, and it's all done, I drop it in acid.
Okay.
And with the two types of metal in there, one piece of metal is going to eat a little bit more with the acid than the other piece, which pulls that grain out. And it's referred to as Damascus. Really, it's laminated or mosaic steel blades. But commonly it's been called Damascus because it was very similar to a process that was done thousands of years ago called Damascus.
Now, is that harder than other knives to make?
It's harder to make, yes.
Okay.
That is kind of the pinnacle of knife making, is being able to forge your own Damascus, make controlled patterns, and then finish the blades with that.
Okay, the next thing I want to know is about your handles. Do you make the handles as well, or do you have somebody that makes them for you?
Our shop is a 100%er shop. We make everything in-house.
Okay.
Now, some handles we will make on our own and do all of that. A lot of times we buy handle materials from other entities, that friends of ours in the knife community.
Okay.
So like TNT Enterprises is known for stabilizing woods. He brings woods in from literally all over the world. Woods you've never even heard of, Afzelia xylem and things like that it's hard to pronounce. He gets these woods in, he stabilizes them, and then sends them out to us. Then we take those woods, these exotic burls and things that have been stabilized. That means they're not going to swell and shrink due to temperature changes, moisture, things like that. Then we put those onto our handles. So we're putting the best quality handles we can put onto our knives so they aren't going to fail.
I would say my husband is a knife enthusiast, and so I know that he's looked at all the different things. Okay, so we could talk about this for hours, but we try to keep it, a little bit shorter. Okay, so Texas Select, Forged in Fire, all that good stuff. Actually, I'm going to tell you the truth. I've never been because I just moved here, but I'm going to be going in April. So tell me what I'm looking at seeing. I see it's here.
Well, the Texas Select event we started just over 8 years ago, in 2018, and it did start because of Forged in Fire. So many people were huge fans of the History Channel's Forged in Fire, and they kept coming in, oh, have you seen this show? And then they realized I was on the show, season 1, episode 6. And Texas has a distinction to have more competitors and more champions than any other state in the union.
Of course, this is Texas.
That's it. We do everything big.
That's right.
We started bringing them in, and I have never met half of these guys.
Okay.
So it's like, let's get this show together and have a little bit of fun. So my wife and I started putting the show together. And next thing you know, we had 18 smiths from 5 states. We had over 5 state people. And during the show, we'd interview people. Where'd y'all come in from? Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico. We had 5 people driving from multiple states, like 5 states to come see the show. It's like, wow, this is going to be a big deal. I think 2,500 people came through my shop for that first day.
Okay.
We kept adding to it, and every year the show would double. The next year we had 24. The following year was like 36. Now we're up to over 160 bladesmiths with vendors. We're over 200 vendors coming from 26 states, and we've had as many as 3 countries.
Wow. What are the countries?
South Africa, British Columbia, Canada area, and Brazil. So we've had smiths coming from all over the place. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so the event is called Texas Select.
Texas Select Custom Cutlery Event. We call it TexasSelectEvent.com is the easiest way to find us.
Okay, and then the Forged in Fire, is that just because you were on the show, or do you have an association with it?
Because I was on the show, and it started because people wanted to meet Forged in Fire guys.
Gotcha.
But over the time, we started having other knife makers reaching out, so we designated for the Texas Knife Makers Guild. This would be beneficial to Texas knife makers and the guild here. So it's like, okay, you got to be a member of that. And we opened it to those guilds. And it just has finally come to a point. Everybody wants to be at our show. Knife Magazine a couple years ago featured us again this year in magazine articles saying that it's a new breed of knife show. So all the other shows in the country are starting to take notice of who we are and how big, because it is becoming quickly the largest custom. One of the few shows to beat us is Blade Show, but 50% of them are manufactured blades.
Okay.
We don't bring manufactured blades. Makers have to be behind the tables. So it makes us a very unique show in all the country.
I was going to say, and that's, you talked about your vendors. These are some of the pictures, and I found a ton of pictures of different vendors that came. Mm-hmm. All right. And that
is Jay Nielsen, Master Smith. He's one of the judges off Forged in Fire. So we have generally 2 to 3 of the judges come to our event. So we have 2 main judges everybody knows. Jay Nielsen and David Baker are at our event. And then we also have Ricardo Villar, who's a South American judge. So our show has got so big, it doesn't air just in 20 countries. It's been replicated in other countries.
Wow.
So South America has a version of Forged in Fire. And Doug Marcaida and Ricardo Villar are 2 of the judges for that one.
Boy, talk about put Bellville on the map.
We're there.
Man, all right. And who are these gentlemen?
That is David Baker and Jay Nielsen. And so both of them are generous enough to get up on stage and do demonstrations and take questions and sign autographs all day long. Everybody wants to meet the judges because they're relatively famous.
Right.
So they do a great demonstration. They've got a good sense of humor. David Baker did a great thing for us last year, is he did a sword symposium. He has to make all the swords that you see on Forged in Fire, the final challenge weapons.
Okay.
So he makes these weapons every week, every episode. He has to make a new piece for the bladesmiths to copy. Well, he brought a bunch of his swords to our show. Oh, wow. Did this big sword talk talking about how and why they were used. Right. And when he finished, he started handing everybody in the crowd swords, and he'd line them up, give them a sword, ask which sword they want to use, and would teach them how to use a sword. He had pull noodles set up on a thing, and they get to sit there and swing a sword with instructions from David Baker on how to cut pull noodles.
Okay, what is this?
Okay, this is the next big draw.
Okay.
Everybody loves seeing the ballistic dummies' torsos get cut up on Forged in Fire. Well, they've been a huge. Chris Mills and I go way back. Super great guy. He created ballistic dummies. He helped get it set up on Forged in Fire. And he comes to our show every year and provides lots of these ballistic dummies. And we get these guys. This particular picture is the gentleman in the plaid shirt splattered in blood all over. He won the auction this year to get to come up on stage and be instructed by David Baker on how to cut up a ballistic dummy. So we auctioned off a chance for him to come up on stage and cut this dummy up. And they bleed. They are used for forensic science. They're used on movies everywhere. The gentleman to the far left is Jeff Wagner, one of my best friends. His sword is the one that he's holding in his hand, is a sword that guy chose to use to cut up the ballistic dummy.
Oh, wow.
And he was a Forged in Fire champion as well, so he's a lot of fun. Super nice guy. So we offer experiences that you just can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm going to venture to say that. Wow, that's, yeah. Here are some pictures of the different people. Now, this gentleman, he came from
Northern California. That's Scott Thomas.
Okay.
So he was a farrier by trade, so he really ties in with us very well. He's a phenomenal blacksmith. He does beautiful blacksmithing. I can't even tell you how many years he's been doing it. Been a very, very long time. I think that's about his only career he's ever had was blacksmithing. And so he likes to make knives. He was also on Forged in Fire with us, and he loves doing demonstration and working with kids and giving his pieces out to people and doing things like that.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, this is one of those things we could probably talk for hours and hours, but in the interest of keeping it fairly short, I'm going to ask the big question that I know everybody wants to know. What are your big plans for the future? You went from the small to, I mean, you're just going. What's next?
I'm fluid. I have plans. You know, our shop, we're still in the process. We've had it now for about 3.5 months, and we're still getting it all set up, getting all the contractors finished. We are almost done. We are going to be one of the largest knife stores in Texas. So we're going to have over 1,000 handmade knives when I finish getting this thing the way I want. There's going to be a wall full of swords. I'm still building our forging area out to really create this ambiance. I want it to be like walking into Hollywood and seeing these, like, that you get lost, that you're in another building, that you can't, that you lose reality.
I happened to see this. I was looking through the Facebook page and saw the different people that were working on it. Now, what is this? This is going to be
that's going to be our showroom. So these guys are just starting to wire to the lights to our cases. Every case will have individual lights. We've been building the ceilings, the floors, the glass wall in front. Each case is going to have glass. Like I said, there's going to be thousands of knives in there. It's just going to be just as collector's dream, or just anybody who's into knives will have everything you could possibly want in there. So just excitement and fun going on.
Well, good. Well, I was going to say we're at the very end of the podcast. We're going to have all your information so that anybody who doesn't know who you are already will know who you are. It'll give we'll put your website and any pertinent information. So do you have any words for anybody who might be thinking about getting into knife making or blacksmithing?
We also, not only do we offer the come and make it's and all that, we do full classes. So you can come in and do 1-day classes, 4-day classes, corporate team building if you just want to bring your corporate groups in there. So there's lots of things we offer, and who knows what we're going to create next. I am always looking for that next big thing to have fun with.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I tell you, I could have probably talked to you for about 5 or 6 hours just because it was so interesting.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for joining us, Austin County. We're glad you're here and joining us. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell for notification. So each time we upload something, you'll know. And we'll see you next time.